Hi, everybody, and welcome to the experience. And it's been a while since I put a post, so today you will be in for a very fantastic treat. I have, and I'm going to put you on the screen. I think there you go. There's Courtney Starkey, everybody. Say hi to Courtney. Yay! I'm going to read her little bio, her brief bio. She's got a master's of education. She's a master hypnotherapist. She's trained with many leaders, like she's trained with the tops. Dolores Cannon's techniques, Dr. Michael Newton's techniques. So Dolores Cannon's are the QHHT. Michael Newton is LBL, Life Between Lives, and Carol Bowman's Affect Bridge or Affect Bridge, as she supports her clients, that Courtney supports her clients by guiding them through her personalized hypnosis session. So she takes these amazing trainings that she's been through and become a master of and creates her own very special offering for
I hope I added this to the list, but Brian Weiss also.
Oh, Brian Weiss, sorry, it's right there in front. No, it's totally me. She's weaving the program's wisdom into her clients' hypnotherapy sessions, as well as weaving the wisdom of the sessions into her doctoral program studies. And we're going to find out more about that. She is becoming doctor.
Yes, really important.
So you have to speak with a lower, more authority.
Please take me very seriously.
Yeah, and don't have any fun.
Yeah. I know, right?
She also is, she lives in two different places. She lives in Hawaii and in Virginia.
Three of you count the spirit realm.
Yeah. Well, and that's cool. We have that in common because I'm from Hawaii. So but we actually didn't meet in Hawaii, which is
the same town even.
We probably would have. We probably would have if we were still in Hawaii.
The universe is going to make this happen.
Sync up our stuff, our energy. And so that was a kind of hodgepodge of your bio, but I just want people to understand your pedigree, as it were, like epic pedigree as far as you the training, working with consciousness, hypnotherapy. And I'm really kind of bridging the language of consciousness and hypnotherapy because I think in a way, I'm almost feeling like the term hypnotherapy kind of gets in the way with what it is that we're actually doing as hypnotherapists.
Thank you. Yeah, because the more that I study with this PhD program, the more I realize nobody agrees, like the experts, the scientists, nobody really agrees on what hypnosis is. Is it a special state of consciousness or not? They're not sure. Nobody really knows how exactly it works. What are the mechanisms? They don't really know.
Is it chemical? Is it energetic? Is it a file cabinet that's opening like a drawer in your brain?
Yeah. Is it a combination of all those things? Is it dependent on the client? Is it dependent on the day? I say let's just stay open to awesomeness and see what flows in.
Oh, you have no idea. I mean, you do have an idea. Like that is such a profound statement on so many levels. I mean, as a hypnotherapist, so I'm starting to call myself a consciousness coach because it's like we're dealing with consciousness here. We're the guides to help people have expanded consciousness, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think it becomes a more inclusive terminology. Like the training is the hypnotherapy, but you have I don't know anybody who's had the level of hypnotherapy training that you have right at the get-go. I mean, you're a young woman, you have this whole expansive life ahead of you. And I mean, just think there is, what's coming, like joining all of those masters together in their points of view and then using it as a launching pad. That's just so cool.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I'm always curious about what is the universe up to? What is my soul up to? Because this PhD program, I woke up, it was November 18th of 2017, and I just had a really powerful session with a client the day before. And you know how it is. You get that contact high from these sessions. And I woke up and this part of my brain or soul or heart or whatever you want to call it was like, the
caveat.
You know, like
This
the
canon,
whole
this
team, the whole team. But there was a part of my team that was like, you need to Google PhD programs. And then the other part of me was like, why? Why?
No!
I know. Like, I already feel like I'm doing so much. Like, really? And so then I Googled it, and it was one of those things that they made so easy that I knew that I had to do it. And I kept negotiating with them, and I was like, as long as this is fun and easy, as long as this is fun and easy, because I feel like we tend to gravitate towards struggle sometimes in our lifetimes. And I'm like, maybe let's prioritize fun, ease, flow. And so,
Yes.
yeah, saying to them, I was like, as long as it's fun and easy. And like, what kind of crazy person thinks a PhD program could possibly be easy? I mean, maybe fun. And they kept,
That's not common though. You usually hear people are recovering from their PhD program,
right,
or burnt out from their PhD program.
yeah. And I think also there's this bit of, I'm not sure what word I want to use exactly, but a sense of pride that goes along with doing something that's perceived as being really hard.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. And then also at the same time, you don't want to diminish and I kind of like, I try to not use the word work or effort and I realize that the word that I like to use is focus, like attention and focus, because you can move your work forward with attention and focus. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be struggle. Oh, I'm giving myself goosebumps. Like, yeah, that's such a good point.
They're like, yeah, what you're saying.
Right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be tiring. And so, and I know this, there's a part of my brain, my being, that knows it doesn't have to be hard. And then there's the part that continues to make it harder on myself than it needs to be. So it was very interesting experiencing the first semester. I'm in my second semester right now. I should also say this. I'm the first person that they've allowed to take this program double time. So most people are taking 2 classes per semester. I'm taking 4 classes per semester. And that was part of my negotiation with the universe. I was like, it needs to be fun. It needs to be easy. It needs to be fast. Like, if I agree to this, I want it to be enjoyable and quick. So,
they're hooking you up.
Yeah. And so during this online prep session, the director of the program, he just kind of casually mentioned you could take the program slower if you wanted to. You could take the program faster if you wanted to. And I was like, hold up, did you just say I could take this faster? So so I've been taking a lot of classes at a really accelerated rate. And the first semester, oh my goodness, I'm really glad we didn't do an interview last semester, like total like puffiness under the eyes. And it was my own stress, even though the universe was giving me something that could be fun, could be easy, could be really enjoyable. I was causing my own stress because I was like, I've never done anything like this before.
Right.
It's going to be okay. I don't know. They keep talking about this high level of writing. I'm like, I got my master's degree 14 years ago. I don't know what's going on here. And so I was just like, I trust the universe. This is a pain in my butt, but I trust you. And then I ended up getting all A's, 1 A minus, but you know, I ended up getting all A's, and I was like, did I stress myself out like crazy? And I ended up doing well. So this semester, I'm like, you know what, girl?
Congratulations. That's a big deal, dude.
Going, yeah, and do it in a much more relaxed way. So I'm still putting the same amount of focus into things, but not the same amount of struggle or stress. And it's been so much more enjoyable. And I will have an assignment where classmates are turning things in earlier than me, and then we're hearing feedback, which is like everybody's having to redo this, and that. And so I'm just like, all right, universe, we're going to go real chill with this. And so I turn it in, and I get feedback that like it's gone really well in the first pass. And I'm like, this is working. This is working. This is fast. This is fun. This is enjoyable. This is easy because now I'm taking the stress out of it. And I think that's the key, that I don't want to diminish the program. It is a hardcore program. Like, they are really passionate about bridging science and spirituality.
So
and
say the program, mention what the program is.
Okay, so it's the California Institute of Integral Studies. That's the overall institute. But the program is the IT.
CIIS?
Yes, CIIS.
Yeah.
And it's the IT program, so the Integral and Transpersonal Psychology program. And I'm not a very sciencey person. Like, I like to read other people's conclusions about the research.
Their synthesis, please. You put it together, I'll read it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, can I read your abstract and your conclusion? Like,
right, good. We're good to go. Got it.
Yeah, and so like I care about the spiritual aspect of things, and so for me, it's been really interesting doing this program that really is very high level. It is really amazing. It's very impressive. Like it's world known. I didn't even realize this, again, the universe, when they told me to Google it that one morning. It was so clear that it was this program. Like, I was into the program in three clicks of the internet, and I was like, that was too easy. I never looked anywhere else. I just applied. Yeah. And so, but then I'm finding out slowly, I'm like, this is like a world-renowned program. I had no idea. So I do not want to in any way diminish that this is
this isn't a fly-by-night thing
program, but I'm approaching it where I don't want to believe that it's challenging, and therefore I will have fun.
And I think that's beautiful. Well, yeah. Let's talk about this on sort of like the ramifications of shifting your point of view around what that means. So, because I think walking people through these step processes is important, because we've always done it the efforting way. Mm-hmm. People have, as you've mentioned, signed on for things like medical school and PhD programs and the whole thing, where they are prestigious and they are hard, and surviving them is really what it's all about. And you're talking about recognizing so many different levels. First of all, that you were guided. I think some people can really just trust and allow that they're guided, because it's like, wow, this is just here. But then taking it a step further, doing the program, recognizing your own resistance to it, recognizing that you're doing really well anyway, and then the takeaway from that and the reapplication, the refocusing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what is that? I mean, does that have implications for you and how you see your future?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I think that one of the reasons that they have me doing this PhD program, is...
We'll just clarify, they.
I know. I always do it, because I'll have clients that are like, who's they? And I'm like, oh, they.
The omniscient they.
Right. The team. Our team. So I'll go ahead and say this. Big dream, right? And we have our own versions of our big dreams. Mine, I would like to be the next Brian Weiss.
You're on your way,
girl. I got goosebumps again.
Yay!
I would really like to be the next Brian Weiss. And what I mean by that is, I feel like he has, in such a gentle, loving way, he's such a sweet guy, really helped a lot of people, whether it's through his books or his large group hypnosis events or his online classes, hypnosis sessions. Like, there's such a variety of ways that he has, in a really gentle, loving way, helped so many people. And I really, really would love to take what I'm learning, what we're learning, and let it just be so big and so impactful, because it really will help those who are ready for, this next phase.
Those of you who are watching and resonating with this information, for sure. Yeah.
And so tying that back to the PhD program, this has been a really interesting way for me to leap, like really trust the universe, and leap, and also really trust myself. And then also, and we'll go back to that whole like consciousness and different ways of knowing and trusting.
Because I was just thinking, I want to go back.
Yes, please. Yeah, let's bookmark that. So trusting myself, and then also doing something that is supposed to be hard in a way that feels good. And so being the next Brian Weiss, I'm going to need to create a lot of different programs. I'm going to need to actually self-publish my book instead of letting it just sit in my computer for years.
Oh, don't I know that story?
Put myself out there, right? And putting yourself out there can be scary. So there are all of these different things where I feel a little bit of hesitation or fear or whatever you want to call it. And so this PhD program has been like a boot camp of just going, move forward, trust yourself.
Right.
Move forward.
It's a training ground for that level of productivity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I'm not going to lie. I think part of the PhD program too is I am a young female that giggles a lot, right? So the letters at the end of my name will hopefully balance out that I have a bit of a silly, like, character.
She's having entirely too much fun here. She can't possibly be a doctor.
You take the girl seriously. I'm like, you can take me seriously, and you can also giggle as well.
Oh, that is so good. That is so good. It's also, that's leaping ahead to where I think we're headed as a collective. But so the bookmark of that, and I think that that's brilliant and amazing and so cool. Like how, it's like we can't necessarily know what our guidance is leading us to, and that trust component and that leap of faith. I often refer to that leap of faith with clients or with friends, or remind myself that leap of faith feels a lot like free falling, Yes. Oh, there's Pablo.
Hi, Pablo. I didn't even know about Pablo. I know about Luna.
Come say hi. Our giant cat. And he's still a baby. Look at that baby face.
Hi, sweetheart.
That's Pablo. He's our redheaded Latino.
Very unique.
He's just Latin by name. But yet I digress. But yes, so that following your guidance. I mean, I know for me, when I'm going through that place of like needing to trust, I'm not always like, okay, this is your trusting moment, Nora. Sometimes there's like emotional discord within me where I'll feel cranky, or I'll feel stressed, or I'll feel like a compression. Tell me what it's like for you to be in that space of like, okay, this is what I'm noticing. I'm going to do it. I'm going for it. What is your process, if there is one?
There is absolutely a process. And I want to make sure, since we're both hypnotherapists, and I haven't really talked about it that much so far, I really want to make sure that I stress that everything that I'm saying, it exists for me and within me because of the foundation that I have with my hypnotherapy work as a client myself. Mm-hmm. So, and then also watching other people as the hypnotherapist, observing other people have their own beautiful sessions, which then validates all of the wisdom that I've received myself, right? Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, in session, we get to witness these amazing downloads of wisdom in clear, succinct way. There's like, when we're receiving it, it can be clear just like anyone else, but it also can be a little, not quite sure. But when you're in session, right? Like, wow. Yeah. Very, very specific. So
yeah, and you can feel the truth of it.
How do you feel the truth?
Your own thinking brain where you're like, am I making this up? Because you can feel the truth of it without wondering if you're making it up, because you're just observing how clearly powerful it is. So yeah, you don't have that self-doubting voice that can come in.
So, I mean, we can talk about that. Like, we can sink down into that too, because some people just know their intuitive sense is like something that they trust. They feel it in their gut. There's just this sense of knowing. But do you have, I've heard people say, oh, when somebody's not telling me the truth, I have like one of my guides is like clanking pots and pans together, or a bell is ringing. And so people calibrate their perception of what is authentic, what is true in their own way. Do you have something that you use as a authenticating symbol or awareness?
Yeah. For me, it's just how it feels.
Mm-hmm.
And feeling, all those sense perceptions is such a great umbrella term, because it could be the feeling that you get within your body, whether it's the tearing up or the goosebumps or your heart or your gut, or, so really, you know what, let's bookmark also body wisdom. That's going to be big too. So really trusting, like, what are you feeling in your body? And if you aren't quite sure how to interpret the feeling in your body, don't rush your decision. Don't rush your conclusion about what you're receiving. Like, sit with it and kind of play with it and ask different questions so that you can narrow it down to what you do feel good about. I'll do really weird things. Like, just a few minutes ago, I had 2 pencils, and it's going to be part of a very important task that I'm about to do. And so I wanted to pick which pencil wanted to be on the team for the important task more goosebumps. I will do really weird things like that. But all I'm doing that whole time is I'm just practicing communicating with my intuition, with my body, with my team, with my soul. And it's just pencils, right? And so I was trying to pick which between the 2. One of them felt much stronger in energy. One of them felt more mellow. And so I'm like, I don't know how to interpret that. Like, am I supposed to go with the stronger one and the more mellow one? So then instead of holding them together in my hands, I sat one down and then felt the one that had the stronger energy. And it was kind of uncomfortable. It was a bit of a burning, actually. I was like, I don't think I like that. And then I held the other one and it had the peace. Like, it was a more subtle, but really in its own way, a powerful energy of like, this is going to be peaceful, right? Going back to the struggle versus the ease.
Right.
Or can it be chill?
And well, people might perceive that strong sensation as the truer, this is the one, but you're talking about a deeper refinement, which I think is really important to share, which is that doesn't necessarily mean what you think it is. There's a deeper sense. And so when you're not 100% sure, pause, take the time to feel into it even more. Don't jump to conclusions. So if you're not sure, the information hasn't totally dropped in.
Right. Yeah, because sometimes you just know. Mm-hmm. And then other times you're like, oh, like I know it's coming, but I haven't totally sorted it out. And I mean, and this is all going back to what we were originally talking about, that first bookmark of different ways of knowing, ways to take the leap, ways to trust yourself, to trust the universe. And what I was saying, the foundation for me was hypnosis as a client. And you really start to practice. For me, it was for the first time. Mm-hmm. I was a real beginner when I started my hypnosis journey, and I was just sort of observing what was going on. And one of my inherent gifts is I have this gift of courage, where I'm like, okay, feel a little bit like uncertain about what's going to be in this cave in my past life, but there's only one way to find out, and the universe has shown it to me, so I should probably explore it. And so practicing that courage, and then also experiencing what feels like scary or sad or whatever it is experience that would be characterized as negative or unpleasant, but then like seeing it through. Like going through it, going to the end of it, and then finding out like why, of all the things the universe could have shown me or had me experience, why this? And so seeing it through to the end, and then feeling that beautiful, really positive conclusion, which if you think about the PhD program, it's the same thing. It's the same case.
Right.
And it's just like, okay, I got to go to the end of this.
Well, and that is so important, I think, for people in any move forward in their expansion of their soul journey, their soul desire, coming into greater blossoming of their soul, their true self, is that courage component. Because whatever that means, like maybe you have a history of being fearful, or maybe you don't, but still that step of there's always got to be this moment where you set aside the interpretation that you've been kind of funneled into as a human and formatted. I've been using a lot of like computer references. You're sort of formatted to perceive in this way, and to sort of let it go and what the hell is next, right? And then there's a necessity to letting that go in order for the new to come in, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Like, do you trust the universe or not?
right. And how do you do that? Right. I think a lot of people are like, how could I do that? And I think what the sort of undercurrent of this is, the subtext is, since we're both hypnotherapists, that in our own personal sessions, having sessions ourselves, and you're saying this about yours, and I would totally agree that it's been huge for having that ability to let that go and have different perspectives come in. So if you've never had hypnosis, I recommend it, because in that state, you're able to actually access a broader perspective, so that the one that you're contained within or feeling potentially trapped or confined by can soften. And
Mm-hmm.
I could get into the whole pre-talk, but I'm not going to do that. You let in a perspective that is new and delicious and so much more fun, and what could potentially lead you to a PhD program,
Right.
and who knows? I mean, to Broadway, whatever the doors that swing open in that process, appear to be, you get to just walk through it. So that is super cool.
Yeah, what's really nice about the hypnosis sessions too is that you are getting to practice elements, really powerful elements of courage that are so low stakes, because you are lying on a couch or in a cozy chair in a hypnotherapist office, like everything is super safe, right? So you know that you can have the experience and practice the courage while in an incredibly safe situation.
Right. It's
Right?
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in a way, I mean, I really like referring to what we're accessing in hypnosis as a technology that we have within us. And so it's like virtual reality, because you're accessing your own virtual reality, and it's become, you become more nimble through each session. You get better and better at it, so it becomes more of a thing that you can actually do without any hesitation. You get better and better at it, and you don't need to put on those virtual reality goggles. You actually
Right.
just have a good hypnotherapist take you there, and you're going to have the kind of experience that you just cannot make up.
Right. And then also what I love about this work is that it's so wonderful to work with a hypnotherapist, but because everything that you're experiencing is very much internal, this is something where you don't need to rely on the hypnotherapist. You learn how to do this. You can take this home with you because you go home with you. And so that whatever that is, opening up to receiving love, or practicing courage, or just opening up your dialogue with your own intuition, like whatever it is that you're experiencing in the sessions, you can continue to practice that at home. And you can, and how we were talking about people who aren't quite sure where to begin. I mean, that pencil story that I told, again, incredibly low stakes. There's nothing too scary about picking a pencil. So just try.
Yeah, the world's not gonna end if you pick the wrong pencil.
Yeah, everything's gonna be okay. But you get to practice, which then allows you to understand the way that your communication is received and the way that it's felt whenever the stakes are a little bit higher. And it really is to your benefit to be more familiar with those feelings and how to interpret them.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
That's so true. I totally agree. So let's move this in a different direction for a while. In your work, I'm sure you've had your experiences. Do you feel like there's something that's being given to you or revealed to you that's unfolding in a way that you'd like to share?
Do you mean, so as the clients are having their sessions, if I'm noticing patterns and so that's being revealed, or do you mean like one big reveal from one session, or just a bit of both, whatever I think?
I think, yes, you can share all of that stuff. I think in general, what I'm trying to start to direct things to is, more simply put, where do you think consciousness is going?
Okay, got it. All right.
It's not small. Sorry, just a quick little glimpse. No, but it's really
we don't really do small, so that's perfect.
Yeah, good.
Okay, so yeah, global consciousness. Let's talk about that. So I would say the main thing that I'm noticing is that the clients, and it's tricky. I have to preface all of this with, you know, how the clients that you're working with, you're meant to be working with them. That's why they're there with you. So what you and I are experiencing with our clients, there's likely going to be a lot of overlap because you and I have similar personalities and energy and where we're moving. But then other hypnotherapists, they might watch this and be like, wow, that is not the experience that my clients and I are having. So I just want to say, like, this is my experience with my clients, so I can speak to what that type of being is going through, but other types of beings, I'm not totally sure.
Yeah,
So,
sure,
but likely the people who are watching this interview are probably more like us. So that's why they're meant to receive these.
Yeah, well, I'm fascinated with the energy that you are bringing in, and so that, you know, it's sort of, it's a in my opinion, they're being drawn in the same way clients are being drawn.
Yeah, exactly. So the main thing that I noticed as far as that shifting in consciousness is the clients are connecting so much faster with very minimal induction and getting even more information while also probably not feeling hypnotized, which is totally fine. Like I would rather someone gain a ton of wisdom and healing energy and, you know, everything that they're meant to receive while feeling like, yeah, I can get up and go to the bathroom if I want. Yeah, I can hear the birds singing outside, like being consciously present. I would much rather them have that experience than being like, yeah, I was definitely hypnotized. I don't remember much of that. I'm also not sure what happened. And because again, that would also in that situation create more of a reliance on the hypnotherapist. I love them being able to take all this and realize, kind of like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, that it was always within them.
Yeah.
Always within them, and that they're taking this time to learn how to access it. So that's been my main takeaway, that people are accessing so much more easily. Again, we're releasing the struggle. It's very easy. It's fun. It's a great time. Like the spirit guides are so much fun, and they have a great, like, wicked sense of humor. Those spirit guides who hang out with your people, do they really like wordplay and puns?
Oh, always. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and they crack themselves up. I mean,
Yes.
Constantly. Well, I want to pause you there for a second, because what I hear you saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is it's getting easier for people. Like the access is closer. I mean, would you say that is potentially the veil thinning?
Oh yeah, I definitely think that that's part of it. It's the veil thinning, and it's also those who are open to the veil thinning. And
is that increasing in numbers?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Mm-hmm. Is that what you're finding too?
Absolutely. Yeah. But you know, what you say, yes and yes, but I also am curious, you know, yeah, I mean, I think this is a question that I want to continue to ask other hypnotherapists and other consciousness leaders on this program about what they think is happening, because it is getting easier, and that's so juicy and delicious. It's like, see, look, you know, these are just training wheels, you know, go and ride.
I know. Yeah. And I feel really passionate about, I know I'm banging this drum, but that, yes, there is purpose in the struggle, but we don't need to linger in the struggle. Like it's really nice as a hypnotherapist to have experienced those phases of struggle, because whenever you're working with a client who is in that phase, then you can really, really understand and identify what they're going through. And you also have come out through the other side, so you can be of more service to them because you've had that experience yourself. But I really do think that we're moving into much more ease, which, because we're not scrambling, stress is scrambling, panic is scrambling. When we are stressed and panicky, we're scrambling.
Worry, yeah.
yeah, that could be flowing in really easily. And so when we start to release that, it's exponential growth. We release it, we get more. We release more, we get more. And then we're just like in the zone, we're cruising.
Oh, when people have that sensation too, it's really, it just feels, I mean, I think when you, and whoever is watching this who is resonating with hypnotherapy as a potential career path, this will resonate with you, you know, to sit with people who are having who typically get hung up on areas that they're just really hooked into, and helping them shift in a direction, whatever, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, helping them shift in a way that actualizes their goals and realizes that they don't have to actually, like, that struggle is a component of choice.
Yeah, it is. That's a huge sentence, Nora. It is choice. It is
choice.
It is.
And some people may think that's a really annoying thing to say, because it's like, well, you don't know my suffering.
Well, deal with it.
Yeah, take that. And I think your compassion, your conversation that we just had about having sensitivity to that through our own difficulties is really important, because I think those who may be watching or experiencing or sitting in our chairs who are struggling and may feel like, well, you know, F you, like, what do you know? I've struggled, and, you know, and that's my struggle, for crying out loud. And it's like, sure, you get to have that. But then there's also something more. It's sort of like stories that you've heard in the literature of either NDEs or near-death experience, LBLs, and I don't know that I've ever had this with a client myself in a PLR or LBL, but going into the spirit realm, this is a real diversion, but it comes back around. The idea that when we pass, if we believe in hell, that we're like so flawed that we're going to be in hell when we pass, the idea of like that will actually be something you can create for yourself, because we manifest our own reality. And the idea, you know, Dr. Newton talks about this, and I think it's Journey of Souls, not 100%. One, Journey of Souls or Destiny of Souls. And that when the soul is kind of like ready to get out of that focus, that term that you use, it's like the guides are like, oh, okay, ready, honey, to move on from this space.
You're telling the story, I think, where he went into hell and all of his spirit friends were there and looking like demons. Then eventually they removed their demonic masks and they were like, see? And I think that in the story, he was a preacher that was telling people that they were going to hell. And then he was like, no shit. Like, I'm a preacher and I ended up in hell. And then they revealed, like, no, like, everything is fine. But you talked about this so much, we wanted to give you the experience of what
is that journey or destiny? That's
remember. I don't know. I want to say it's the second one. I want to say it's destiny.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Well, so if you are aware of this and you're watching this, please feel free to drop that in the comments. Yeah, you know, and also in near-death experiences that's happened too, where people are in like a haze of darkness, or, you know, what people would describe as the lower astral realm. And I think we've even, I personally, when I've been in a crappy place energetically, I've had dreams where I'm wandering through the lower astral. I don't know if anybody else has had that, where it's just like, or you know what kind of is like this is Stranger Things. Have you ever seen that show? Mm-hmm. Stranger Things. So the nether.
The upside down?
Yeah, the upside down. And so, but the idea is that it is vibration and frequency. Mm-hmm. And so if you're in a crappy place, the universe is going to provide, and I like to explain it in a bandwidth. Like if you're in that bandwidth of crappy feelings, that's the experience that's going to be transmitted to you. And I don't know,
totally.
I could riff on this forever, but I want to just sort of open that up to you and see where that brings you.
I have two things I would like to say about that. And I'll tie a couple of things together. Going back to the, I love it, where you were like, F you guys for saying this is a choice. And a lot of people would certainly feel that way. And I don't know about you, but me in the past, if I could, check in on old Courtney from back in the day, I would have been one of those F you. But then part of me also would have listened and thought about it, because I also like having ownership over my own experience.
Right.
So part of me would be like, F you. Another part of me would be like, wait a second, what if it is a choice?
Right. If I can get myself out of this.
Here? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a way out.
Exactly.
Right? That's the beautiful thing.
And that's a choice too. You can hear this conversation and go, stop telling me that I'm creating this. Or you can hear this conversation and go, wait a second.
Yeah.
If I'm creating this, then I can also create the better version of this, which is incredibly liberating and powerful. And then, but going back to the, well, where do you begin? And I would say, and I just want to say, and again, I don't know your background, but for me, and I never really linger on this, but I have street cred in this conversation because I had a pretty craptastic childhood.
My adolescence was craptastic.
Okay, yeah. So, like, I'm not coming from a place of like, yeah, I was born on rainbow and stardust, and it's just been easy like this whole time. Like,
yes. No, yeah.
So,
and that, I think that's an important component to just mention too. Like, I think that's an assumption that a lot of people make, that like, well, of course you feel that way. Like, life is perfect for you and you've had no crap. And craptastic is fantastic. But yeah, and I think too, like, we don't want to belabor something that has already happened and has been formatting to us, and it could have been a negative influence. And I think both of us had moments where we were influenced in a really negative way. It took me years, and still working every day. We're never done, people.
It's still, which again is the choice. Like, do we listen to that, or do we move forward? And so the only reason I ever mention it is just to say, like, I promise you, I practice what I preach here. Like, I've been through the shift from, when I was in college, I had this boyfriend who, in a really matter-of-fact way, not to be mean-spirited, but in a very matter-of-fact way, said to me, Courtney, you're the most negative person I've ever met.
That's like shocking. That's plain shocking.
Trying to be mean. Like, it was just a very matter-of-fact.
Like a statement of facts, like, you're negative. And, as you all know, that is a complete shift from where she is now. I mean, you're like the most sparkly, energetic, happy people I know.
Yeah.
But there's something to this.
Go ahead. Yeah.
There's something to this. I mean, people, if you're having a crappy experience and you tend to be negative, maybe there's something worth paying attention here too, because we're not, I mean, both Courtney and I we're not here to sell you a bill of goods. We're all about authenticity, because there's really no point. Like, when you deal with the spirit realm, there's no point. There's no lies. There's no hiding. Like, there's none of it. So that's a really, really good point. And so, yes, your life can get better, and the way you think about it might have a positive influence if it's shifted to a positive point of view.
Yeah, and it's worth practicing.
Hypnotherapist. Make sure.
Yeah. And so, I mean, going back to, like, how did my shift really begin? There was a build up to this, but pressing fast forward, it was the hypnosis. Like, I had been meditating, I had been reading self-help books, so I had a bit of a build up, but it was like, and I love turtles, so no disrespect, but it was like a turtle. There is progress, but like, it's not going that quickly. But
not
then
like you are now. You're like on warp speed.
And I love it. Warp speed feels really good. And so when I hear warp speed, I think of flight, and having this skill set where you do tend toward the positive doesn't mean that your life suddenly becomes perfect. Although, let's move toward that, right? You will have these things that will happen, and you can feel the nose diving. Like, you can feel it start to kick in, and you're like, I have a skill set that can take me out of this. And then you just, like, even if you don't even mean it, Like fake
Right.
it till you make it. You're like,
Right.
just try to be positive. Try to see the silver lining here. And you will actually come out and start to believe it. And it will become real, even though in the beginning you're like, this is crap.
Yeah. Yep.
This is just utter
The
crap.
momentum. Stop the momentum while it's happening. Abraham Hicks will talk about take a nap or look at something, like soften. I know for me, like when I'm really, really focused on something like where it's a very intellectual task or I'm working a lot, I need to do something totally opposite in order to feel the balance. Like
time in nature, or hug your kids, or
art. Something very physical and not fine tuning. Not, it's much more expanded, a softer feeling. Because I think I can somehow, I haven't figured out quite yet how to, I don't know, it feels more like a compression. Maybe that's just the nature of being human, but it feels like if I'm focused like this too much, I get compressed and I just need to sort of open it up. And I mean, that's the beautiful thing about what I think is our human technology is we have, like, when you find that you start to notice that nosedive as you're talking about, and you like, oh, I'm having a nosedive, that noticing is like epically key, right?
Yeah.
Like however you want to notice it, however you want to do it, you at that point can go, oh shit, here I go.
Yeah.
And go down in flames.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're all going to do that. Last night I had that with my kids. I was in a perfect mood all day. And then like all of a sudden everybody came in with their stuff. And it doesn't always bother me, but for whatever reason, I was just like, rah. And so I was just like, okay, got to get myself right. And everybody was like, it's okay, Mom, you go ahead and do that, And I was like, trying to explain to my kids, I'm like, if I can show you how to get out of a crappy place, maybe it'll be easier for you as you grow up.
I love that they also offer you that space where they were like, you just deal with whatever you need to deal with.
Get out of our space. You're
Great parenting that they didn't take it personally and that they knew you just needed some space.
Formatting, broken record.
Yes. Well, and then so also, okay, so going back to like, well, how do you get out of the nosedive? There are two things that are coming to me really strongly. We were talking about find your own way, what feels good. And everybody's going to have a different access point that will work for them every single time. And for me, I had this little ferret. Everybody is like, parrot? No, ferret with an F, like a tiny little weasel angel. And his name was Pandy. And he actually comes into my past life hypnosis sessions more than any human. I mean, Pandy and I, like, we're tight. And if I ever, like, if I really need access to love or peace or calm or wisdom, all I have to do is just think about his little face and his eyes. And there was such like a quiet depth of soul and wisdom and peace and love in him. And like, if I just think about that and sit with it quietly for even a nanosecond, I'm like, yeah. Everything is okay. Like, that's going to be my quickest way. And then if you want to do something where it's a little bit more challenging, like let's say that your spouse or your kid or your sibling or your boss or whoever it is, that they're annoying you, and that and it keeps happening over and over again, and you can't always think about your ferret because they're like right in your face. And it's like, I'm just gonna be mad
transposing the ferret.
yeah. I'm like, could you please stop talking because I really need some.
Could you just move over? I'm busy. I'm looking.
Right. Yeah. And so this is something that has worked really, really well for me. And you never know if it works just for you or if it will work for others. But a couple of my classmates, one of them was having a similar issue. And I've talked about this before. My husband and I, we got married when we were really young. So I had just turned, I think he had just turned 24. I was 23. That's, pretty young. And we weren't necessarily grown up. Like, sometimes you meet a 23-year-old, sometimes you meet a 12-year-old, and you're like, that's a 40-year-old in a 12-year-old's body. But we were not necessarily mature. So we had been butting heads for a very, very long time, kind of like siblings would. And Then I started learning more about Abraham Hicks and like positive thinking. And I was realizing that even though I was being nice to everyone in my world and even trying to be nice to him, but still thinking those not so nice thoughts about him, I was like, I am blowing it so big time by allowing those not nice thoughts to continue. And so it took a couple of months, again, of focus. Like, you just train yourself. You rewrite your program, right? You edit out the bug in your code, and back to the computer language. So,
exactly.
yeah,
and hear that. I have
practice, right? And so it took a couple of months. Some things will be instantaneous. This one took a little time because I think he needed to receive it, and he needed.
We all have that. Yeah.
Yeah, he needed to believe. He's an empath, so he needed to really believe and trust that this positive shift I was making, he could trust it. It was long-term. It wasn't this short-term thing. So, but then like since really early 2018, we've been getting along beautifully for like a year and a half. And that was after 15 years or whatever of butting heads. So I had this classmate, and she was talking about, like, she also has a really sweet husband. She's also very easily irritated by him. I'm like, I know this story. And so I was talking to her about what has worked well for me. And like the easiest thing, and this can apply to anyone, if you catch yourself thinking that negative thought, which you know is likely going to happen, then train yourself to think 3 positive thoughts, 8 positive thoughts, whatever it is. And it doesn't matter.
Have a retort. Have a retort to your negative thought. Have a positive for the negative. Like, what would be a good one to insert here? Plop.
Right, exactly.
Drop,
and hold yourself accountable.
Drop.
Yeah, don't let yourself get away with the negative thought and not follow up with the positive thoughts, because it's kind of like, it's totally fine to eat I don't know, a candy bar or whatever, but maybe have some salad.
Yeah.
Like, you need to hold yourself accountable and let the balance go toward health and positivity. And so whatever the number is that will break you out of that zone. So it could be 3 positive things. I think Abraham Hicks, they say 12. They're not messing around. They're like, you need to get out of that negative rut. And so they'll say 12 positive things. And it could be anything. Like, if he annoys me, I'll be like, he has really beautiful eyes, and he's super smart, and he's very loving to our cat. And like, you know, it's all over the place.
But they're all good feeling thoughts.
You know, like, yeah. And it could have nothing to do with the annoyed thought, but I'm still kicking it into high gear about how wonderful he is, because he is wonderful. And it's a choice for me to recognize if he's wonderful, or for me to go into, I'm annoyed. That's my choice. And it's a much happier life now that I'm choosing to see how wonderful he really is. So yeah, so I mentioned that to one of my classmates. Another classmate was just kind of quietly listening. And then off to the side, a couple days later, she was like, can you restate that advice? And I said it to her again. She was like, interesting. And then she messaged me maybe a month ago, maybe 2 months ago. And she was like, this has worked. So even though she wasn't the direct recipient in the beginning, she was the one who was really ready to hear it and to practice it, and she's seeing the benefits, which makes me happy, because I'm like, oh, this actually will help other people.
Oh my gosh, the influence and the reach, that is so, and you never know in what direction that's gonna, like, how that's gonna show up. What great validation.
Yeah. You know how we were saying earlier that we're all about authenticity? So you and I, we don't pretend that we're perfect. Like, we can help other people because we own our own imperfections and how we have focused rather than worked. We've focused on shifting toward positivity in the ways that have been beneficial for us. And you just have to try different things and figure out, like, which pencil feels better and move in that direction.
Figure out the pencil. Well, and we're drawing to the end of the hour, and I just wanted to bring this into kind of a place that I think is really fun too, and it's the pondering of, what are we doing here anyway? Like, if this isn't meant to be an opportunity to improve whatever circumstances that you're coming into, what is it for you? What is the meaning of life for you? And for me, I'll speak for myself, and through the work that you and I both do, it's just verified and validated daily through this work, whether it's through womb regression, past life regression, or just having spiritual guidance, or even in this lifetime, really all of this work, but the verification of, we come in, we have a particular objective, doesn't have to be a broad, detailed perspective. Sometimes it's more focused than others, but we come into these bodies that have a genetic formatting already. So there's already conditions you're coming into and blending with as you merge.
And families that you're being born into. And so you get to sort through all of their conditions and formats and
Right. And this isn't happenstance. Like God's like, okay, here, this is fun for me to watch you go plop into that body, into that life.
Think or
You have an opportunity to join. Like, you get to say, I don't want that life. I want that life, or I want a life like this. And so we could get into that to a large degree. And if you have questions, feel free to ask questions. And if you have a direct question for Courtney, you can either send it to her at payitforwardhypnosis.com, which is her website, and that's her hub. And you can see her live hypnosis sessions. You can see her classes that she offers, and you can schedule individual sessions and see what kind of events are coming up for her if you're in the Virginia area.
Hawaii, going to be in Hawaii for a couple months too.
Okay, so what are your Hawaii dates?
I will be in Hawaii from mid-May through mid-June. I mean, I actually will be there a little bit longer, but that's where I'll be working with clients and hosting a couple of group hypnosis events. So I think one of them will focus on ascension, which is really exciting.
See, that's a whole nother thing. So what always happens when I talk to you is the realization that we have to schedule another one. So we're just getting warmed up here. So we're going to have to schedule. So have no fear, everybody, because fear is a waste of time. But I'm going to have Courtney back very soon.
Yes, please. I would love that. And then also, if they want to, so you know how you were mentioning that they can email us with questions. And so for me, you can just send it to questions@payitforwardhypnosis.com. But if they also want to write it in the comment section of this video, and then we will have everybody's questions in one place, and we could address that list of questions in the next conversation if you like that idea.
I love that idea. And please don't be shy, people. If the topics we've been talking about spark some interest in you, or you have questions, we'd love to bring you in on this, because this is our jam. Both of us this is where we live, really energetically. Our lives are focused all around this. So, and there's so much more to share. I would also like to just say that so much is evolving on the planet that you may have been feeling and sensing, and along with what you had mentioned in your sessions, that things are getting easier. I want to encourage all of you to have a little bit more trust and faith in your ability to have that courage to step forward on your path, whatever that is. Follow your guidance, trust yourself. Do your best to calibrate your guidance from the inside out and not from external sources, because you'll get confused. Everybody's got an opinion, even me. Take it for what it's worth. If it's guidance and it's supportive and it resonates, cool. If not, listen to you.
Are you ready for a prop that I have? Because I wasn't sure what we were going to be talking about, and so I had a few things as key reminders just in case. I thought, I should probably bring this up. I'll save all those for the next conversation. But this is a card that I drew right before I started my PhD program, and I was thinking, like, why on earth would I need this card?
What is it? I can't see it.
It's a blue heron.
Ooh,
yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. What cards are those?
Has a really wonderful book about power animals, and when they come into your experience, how to interpret that. And what to make of it, how to use it.
And you're all about power animals. We've talked about this in other shows. Yeah. So if you haven't seen Courtney's conversation about her power animals, look at it.
I love my furry and feathered and scaly friends. But yeah, this card so wanted to be mine. I actually had drawn it before a group hypnosis event, and I was giving the cards away as a gift. And so people would pull from the deck the one that was meant for them. And so I saw this on the top and I was like, oh, right, I should weave that back into the deck. And nobody drew it. And then it was my turn to draw my card. And it ended up being this one. I was like, I shall forever pull it from the deck. It is mine. And this happened right before the PhD program. And just going back to what you were saying, like you have to follow your own heart. And so this is the Blue Heron's advice. He says, make a stand for what you believe in and do what feels right in spite of any judgment or disapproval from others. This is your life. This is your path. You know which pencil to pick.
That's so awesome. Yeah,
it's your pencil.
Thank you. And I would even say that if this is, if the path you're guided on seems even like so divergent from what you've told is valid, just trust that whatever you feel called to can be your activism. Like I consider working with consciousness my activism. So if anybody's like, why aren't you getting all wrapped up in the whole political sphere or whatever? It's like, because I'm doing my activism daily and this is where I do that. And
yes.
I don't know, what would you say? Would you agree about activism?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So going back to, you have a choice for what to focus on, where you put your energy. And I was very, very emotionally involved in the Democratic primaries.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just say it.
Which year?
I loved, 2016.
Uh-huh.
I love me some Bernie Sanders. That man has a heart. And I was just like, I love his heart so much. The very first exposure I had to him was Killer Mike interviewing him in one of Killer Mike's barbershops. And I was like, who are these two?
How cool.
It was so wonderful. And I was just like, love at first sight over this cranky old white guy. I'm like, I love him. And his heart is just like so amazing. And so I felt so excited for the country, the world, that we were going to get this really amazing guy as our president. Like, I think he probably is president in some alternate universe.
No, what happened?
I know. Yeah. And I was just so delighted about it. I felt so good. Really, really optimistic. And then I watched all this stuff start to happen. I was like, wow, like what I thought
he was out like really early. It was Bernie out. And then the what is it? Dog and Pony show of Clinton and Trump.
I know. Yeah, it was really interesting watching what the media would put into our attention and what it would not emphasize. Like whenever I wanted to find Bernie Sanders articles, I would have to go to the BBC. And I'm like, why do I have to go to the UK?
Right. I really agree. I agree that language.
Yes. Yeah, so there are all these interesting things that you start to slowly pay attention to. Why, when Hillary wins, are they referring to it as a win? But if Bernie wins a state, they're referring to it as taking. These journalists are wordsmiths. This is their profession. They're experts.
Yeah. And they're paid.
I'm like, that's really interesting.
They're paid for a particular perspective.
Right. Yeah. And so I'm like, this is really interesting. And I started to pay attention to it more and more. I was like, oh, yikes, this is not great. And so that's when I really started to pull back from politics and paying attention to the news. And I'm like, I just need to pay attention to my own reality and how I can help other people. And so the people who are really passionate about politics, I just have to trust their path. That is their activism and what they're meant to be involved in. And then I would just ask for them because, I have politically active friends who are like, Courtney, don't you care? And I'm like, yes, I care very much in my own way and in the way that I believe will be of most benefit to the universe. And so I feel like helping the hypnosis clients, that's really beneficial to the planet and to the universe. I feel like me staying loving, kind, generous, patient, that is a big help to those around me and to the universe. So I choose to pay attention to that and to send out really good, loving energy. I believe that whenever I'm driving and someone needs to get into the lane right in front of me, that I'm helping the universe by being kind and giving them space and letting them in. Like, that's my activism. Be nice.
Right.
Nice.
Well, and what could be, to me, it's like, what could be more beneficial to humanity than helping them become personally sovereign from the inside out, knowing their true self. I mean, That's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, that's yay, high five, dude.
Yeah, being the soul version of them, letting the soul embody like this earthly experience even more.
Yeah, and
It'll become
owning,
easier and more fun. So
yeah, taking responsibility for their choice to be on the planet, taking ownership of their own capacity for mastery, and yes, I mean, fun. People, we actually may have come to have some fun in the process.
I know, right? And it feels really good. And I want to, because I hear this feedback sometimes where people are like, but don't you care about those who are struggling? Yes, that is why I'm dedicated to having fun. Because
like, yeah, it's like, how is that mutually exclusive? As
right.
Abraham likes to say, you can't suffer enough for a suffering person to feel better.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And then my client, whose soul, he was wondering the same thing. And so we asked his soul directly that same question, like, are we being callous by
having fun,
enjoying our lives and feeling good about the world? And the soul very, very profoundly and succinctly said, if this person is struggling over here and I don't know if I want to do higher level. It's just an easier visual for there to be a difference. And you are happy over here. If you decide that it's your obligation, your responsibility to join them in the struggle, everybody is struggling. And then once that person who's struggling is ready to release the struggling, is ready to move into ease and flow and positivity, when they're ready to go to that happy place, they're all alone. Because everybody was like, I got to be dedicated to your struggle in order to be a good person, right? And it's like, no, like,
that's not noble. To feel happy flow is not noble. And I would say absolutely not.
Yeah. Let them join your party. Like, you're having a party. The more the merrier.
Right. So is the noble pursuit to be on a planet? I mean, I think that's why we see so much, if we want to pay attention to it, so much war, so much pain and suffering. Like, if you feel called to focus on it, cool, but just know you're not going to feel better for it, and you're not doing anyone a service by feeling crappy too.
Yes. I love that you also said, if you feel called to focus on it, go ahead, because we really do have to honor the path of those who are very passionate about that type of activism, just like we have to honor the path of those who do look like they're struggling.
Totally.
So, like, but then also, please honor our path where we really see the positive way all of this is going, and that we want to help people move into that positivity. It's a very, like, join us, like, we can move into positivity together.
And we're here when you need us, when you're ready, and there's no rush. I want to sort of bring out, like, so I used to be an archaeologist, and so we would talk about time on the planet a lot of times in geologic time. And I think working with soul, soul time is also a broader point of view too. So if you've connected with your past lives or with clients' past lives, you'll find that not everybody's past life is the Queen of Sheba.
Right.
It's humdrum, or sometimes it's really dark. And I've mentioned this in other episodes, but I'll say it again. Like, I feel very clear that I've come to the light, honestly, through a lot of lifetimes of being in the dark. Yeah. And it's a conclusion that my soul's like, okay, been there, done that. So it's not super interesting, but I'm not afraid of it. It's like, okay, I know that side, and it's dark. Like, I'll be blatant about that. Like, very heartless. I've had lifetimes that I recall that were sociopathic. And
you're not alone. A lot of good people have done that.
We can all probably assume that if we feel genuine about good deeds, why do you think that's the case? It might be informed through experience of the soul. So this the paradox of black or white. It's like, yes, and it's where does your current circumstances lead you, and what feels most resonant for you. And I will say, and I'm, that when you're resonating with something, it's uplifting.
Yeah.
You're in the flow and that feels
Yeah.
good. No shame in that.
No shame. And I think also, as far as where are we going, where is this consciousness going? I think that there's a lot of moving forward toward things that people used to judge, that it's time to release judging them. So spiritual healers making this their career, therefore they need to charge money for the work that they do. Yeah, we need to charge money for the work that we do. Like, we still have to eat and have housing and clothing, and also our training is expensive.
Yeah, that old mentality of like, I think it's a very like the piety. Like, if you're a true pious healer, you're truly spiritual, you get everything that you need from God. Yeah, but so is payment.
Right. And also, I had a teacher who said it so beautifully one time, because I was still in my transition of, I think this work is sacred, and you're told over and over again, it's sacred, good, money.
You're selling out if you get money for it.
Yeah. So there's like, you have to work through all this. And she said one time, I know that I can have faith in my clients' abundance. And whenever I think like, oh no, should I charge this? Is this okay? That you are sending them the energy of doubting their own abundance. And I was like, whoa, I don't want to do that to them. And I'm just like, you guys are abundant. I trust you. I trust the universe. Let's have fun together.
Beautiful. I mean, it also, look at what that says too. It's like, so does that mean that all other non-sacred or spiritual work, healing work, is somehow not spiritually having meaning, and so therefore it's less than, and therefore it should cost a lot of money?
Right. Like, doctors are healers. Like, we know that doctors are healers, but we don't begrudge them. It's like,
oh, that's a whole nother thing.
And it's like, hey, we're experts too, and you also could benefit from
working. It's so funny. There's a compartmentalization that's happened in the languaging of our society, and it's and our consciousness, which is like, this has value in the collective and this doesn't. And it's like, who decides value? Don't we get to decide value? And I think it also stems from, this is, we're going on and on here, but
I know. I'm like, what's the time limit? I don't know.
Whatever we want it to be.
Okay.
If you got to run and you're watching this, people, see ya. Do you have to go?
No. But you know what? Tying all this together. So the only thing that I need to do is, in like 40 minutes, I have the maids coming over. Now, years ago, saying a sentence like, I have the maids coming over, I would have been like, Jesus, Courtney, that sounds ridiculously pretentious and elitist and whatever else. But then I started my own business, right? And I was like, no, this is the thing that I'm good at, that I want to do, that I want to help other people with. And I can only help people if I have clients. And so as soon as I started that business, I no longer felt weird about having maids, because I was like, no, like they
have a business too.
I'm actually helping them do what they want to do. So I'm just like their teammates in their dreams coming true. So yeah. Feel good about it.
So it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Yeah. There, I mean, I think there is a release of old interpretations that happens when you start to unravel. It's a big lie. It's a big BS lie that we need to feel crappy about whatever it is that we're doing, and that there needs to be shame in it for whatever reason. It's like, why would we need to do that? So So if we have intrinsic value, which I believe is a given on, like, you exist, we exist, therefore we are valuable. There's no giving of value. You just plop, you're valuable. You exist and you're totally valuable. And so from that point, you get to decide how your value is expressed. And, money is just the reflection of that flow of value that is coming forward and being received. Mm-hmm. So if you're perceiving value and you're giving value, that is economy. And it could be done with any substance that you want to transact with. And money is just a reflection of what we've decided is the economy flow, but it's just simple flow, give and take.
Yeah, it's really interesting with the whole money thing too, because it is just energy. It's just energy. I'm sure you experience this. If you meditate on abundance, you see the clients start to like pile up and really flow in. And you distract yourself with something else, you see it start to settle down where you're like, oh, wait, I need to like
focusing on it.
Energy.
Noticing it. Uh-oh. Yep.
Yeah. Because I'll have those moments where I'll say to the universe, I'm like, I really love my clients, but I have like these 4 things due in 1 week. So I need a quieter period during this time. And then I noticed that once that rush of work is done, homework is done, that then it will take me turning the switch, the abundance and client switch back on. Like the universe is like, you need to like flip it back on, right?
You had made that choice over here. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, and everyone can do that. Everyone can do that. It's really fun to do a meditation and just see how the energy comes in. I actually have another prop here. So my friend in Hawaii, whenever I hang out with her, she likes to travel. I love Kailua. So when she leaves, she knows that she can have me come in for weeks at a time because I get to be back home. She has the cutest little dogs. They're so cute. I'm not totally sure they're meant to be on this earth because they're allergic to everything, including grass. You know what I mean? So they have to get allergy shots. Like they're wonderful, but it does take like a very responsible person to make sure that they're really taken care of. And so even though she has a life of abundance and I have a life of abundance, we're always doing things like giving each other gift cards where I'm like, thank you so much for letting me stay at your beautiful home. It's so close to the beach. I love being here. So I'll give her a gift card to her favorite restaurant. She's like, no, thank you. The dogs are so well loved and taken care of. So what she did was she gave me a thank you card from the dogs, and inside of the thank you card, and I opened this at the airport. She gave it to me as I was leaving, and inside was one $50 bill. And I thought it was so cute because I was like, I'm friends with money. Money, like that's my jam. I love it. Not in a greedy way, but in a like I love Nora.
Like bring it, sure.
So, and so I was like, oh, this is very interesting. Cause I don't need the $50 from the dogs. So what can I do with this? I was like, oh, I'm going to make it my like play, $50, my abundance, like playtime $50 and just see what comes of it. And so I got
deciding how you want to spend it kind of a thing. Mm-hmm.
Or just like,
or give it or pay it forward.
Well, yeah, there's that too. Oh, trust me. I love to call in abundance so I can pay it forward. You know what I mean? Like, I think if you hoard it, that you're going to shut it down. So the initial $50 was thinking like, let's call in abundance and then just see like what happens. And so the funniest thing was, this was me looking at it right before the flight. I went through a little goodie bag that she made for me, and that was included in it. I get on I pack it all up. I get on the flight. I'm unpacking a few hours later when I've landed. And so I'm going through the goodie bag, putting things away. The $50, now remember, this is my play abundance. Look at this.
It doubled.
Yeah. Now, there was this little corner that was turned on it. So I'm sure a very practical person would be like, there were always 2 in there and you just didn't know it. Sure. But in my reality, first of all, we don't know where there are always 2. We don't know for sure.
No. And it's much more fun to consider your point of view.
Yeah. So it could have materialized, or we could do the very practical version. Yes, they were always stuck together. But in my reality, 1 very quickly became 2. Then I got a message from one of my clients I haven't seen in like a year and a half. And this is like within a few hours of the 150 becoming 2. And she was like, listen, I know that you're in Hawaii, but I really am hoping that we can have a session together soon. And I was like, girl, I just landed. Like, I'm actually here. Do you want to have a session tomorrow? And she was like, yes. And she goes, but I don't know if I'm going to need the 3-hour session or the 4-hour session. So can I pay you in cash? And I was like, yeah, totally. Because then she would bring cash for 4, but if it ended up being 3, then, you know, I was like, totally, that's totally fine. She paid me in almost all 50s. So like, so then I ended up telling my book club this story because we were working on Ho'oponopono, again, creating your own reality, which can include abundance of a variety of types, including financial. And so at the end of that book club, again, one of my clients that I've worked with many times, but we haven't had a session in like a year, she goes, you know what, I really want to follow up and have another session sometime next week. And I was like, that's great. I love my follow-up clients. They're so great to work with. It's such an adventure to just like see where they are in this next stage of their development. I was like, yeah, that'd be awesome. And she goes, and you know what? I really want to pay you in 50s. And I was like, oh my God, I love it. Because I just told the story. She's like, I really want to pay you in 50s. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So
that is hilarious.
Yeah. And then also as far as paying it forward, so I also work with healers. And oh my gosh, I had this amazing massage therapist. And of course, I always make sure to give her a good tip. And so I'll go with the different bills and I'll just be like, which one of you wants to go to her? And so I'll like, again, touching like with the pencils, I'll just touch them. I'll be like, I'm like, who wants to go to another home? And this will be the home that you go to. And then I'll do that.
That's really fun.
Yeah. So it's just really like very loving. Like it's energy, just like love is an energy, and you can receive it and you can also send it out, and it benefits everyone.
What a fun topic. We should talk more about this next time. And if you, my followers and Courtney's followers have an interest in talking more about this energy of abundance and how to work with it, and like Courtney's point of view on that, just let us know. We'll add that more time to that.
Yeah, or if they have any questions where something may seem so clear to us, and so we're talking about, like, we've skipped past A, B, and C, and we're talking about, like, Y or Q, and they're like, hold on, wait, like, I see where you're going, but we need
You don't have to know. Yeah, ask for help. Ask for clarity. We are open to that.
Yeah,
but I'm gonna close it down. What was that?
I said, and these are our favorite topics. So if people want to know more, it's just like, okay, yeah, sure, I'd like to talk about that more.
Yeah, I want to, it'd be fun to somehow join up in Hawaii and do something fun there.
You keep me posted.
I will.
Hawaii will make it happen. Talk about an energy.
We'll just put it out there.
Yeah, I think we just did.
We'll keep you all posted. So, is there anything closing or burning that you want to share before we close this for today?
Love you, Nora. That's it.
I love you too. And thank you all for joining us. And Courtney, it's always fabulous. And Pablo wants to
I love you, Pablo.
Like, I want to get up.
Are we giving I love yous? Because I'm in.
You know what he's trying to tell me is that he ate all of his kitty food and he wants more, and that's his way of getting my attention.
It's effective. Not easy to ignore.
Like, Mom, you're not getting it. He's like quite a little eater.
He's got to maintain that body shape.
The gigantic. He forgot about it, but I love the attention span. He's like, oh, okay, I'm on the floor just licking.
Like, or you can pet me. Either one.
And if you guys watching this enjoy this, tell us what else. Give us feedback. Give me feedback. There's other shows if you hadn't checked this out. Be sure to like the show if you enjoyed it and share it with whoever you think would like to see it and enjoy it too. Also, thumbs up it and subscribe. And we'd love to have you as a subscriber. We, right? As Courtney like to say, we. Me, I would love you. I would love you. I love you. I love you all. And, check out my website, essentialhealing101.com. I do sessions. I do remote sessions. I also do groups. And I also train people how to do the amazing work that Courtney and I both do. So if you
I want to talk about that next time. I want to talk about training the trainers. Like that's, yeah. Let's save that for next time. Yep.
Cool. Well, until next time, thanks, Courtney. And mwah, I love you all. Have a great and divine day.